So it's great to see everybody in person for the first time since the pandemic. It's great to see everyone back in this room as we celebrate the 35th anniversary of Acer.
Alice, you started in the late 80s. You had a whole workforce at your command, I should say. Teachers were retiring and they were looking for things to do. Alice has been very successful at mobilizing people, and you all know that. Once she taps you on the shoulder, you're in.
We're very excited to announce that coming up in Ward 3
in Fleetwood Park, and I got the confirmation the other day between the two of us and the city of Mississauga, we are planting a tree in honor of Alice.
And what you've done for our city, it's just magnificent. And I can't think of a better place to be than here, at the Glen Erin Inn. It's the legacy that sits here and right here on this beautiful, beautiful area filled with trees as we overlook the credit. It's just magnificent.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Madeline Webb, and I'll be chairing the meeting today. The first thing I would like to start is with the land acknowledgement. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Madeline Webb, and I'll be chairing the meeting today. The first thing I would like to start is with the land. So we'll begin the meeting with the land acknowledgement by acknowledging that we're meeting on land that has been inhabited by Indigenous people from the beginning. We are grateful for the land, the water, the flora and fauna, and the people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Acer works throughout the Great Lakes Basin. Along the Carrying Place Trail, for example, of the Humber River, Acer has established planting and measuring programs allowing students to connect to nature that holds significance to First Nations. Most of our team is speaking to you from Toronto, and we wish to acknowledge the ancestral traditional territories of the Ojibwe, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, Wendat, and in particular, the Mississaugas of the New Credit, on whose territory we are gathered. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic and ongoing connection to Toronto. We also recognize the contributions of Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples have made both in shaping and strengthening this community in particular, and our province and country as a whole. As settlers, this recognition of the contributions and historic importance of Indigenous peoples must also be clearly and overtly connected to our collective commitment. We celebrate the leadership of Indigenous groups and guardians that are committed to the conservation, protection, and management of lands across the country. And now I'll introduce Alice Castleman, wait a second. I'm going to go through the agenda. This is a bit informal today, a little impromptu, and we've got our session today in two sections. The first one is an overview of Acer's activities over the past year, and at 3 o'clock we will be moving to another platform for the annual general meeting. The platform will be on Google, and you should have the link to the Google Meet session. So I'll turn it over to start with Alice, our founding chair and founding president, and she will do a formal introduction and a welcome and talk a little bit about Acer. Over to you, Alice. Do a formal introduction and a welcome and talk a little bit about Acer. Over to you, Alice.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. It's a pleasure to see you all.
Welcome and talk a little bit about Acer. Over to you, Alice.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. It's a pleasure to see you all.
Alice, somebody has a replay device on. Please turn it off.
Today, it's a pleasure to see you all.
Somebody has the replay device on. Please turn it off.
I don't know how. If it's me, I don't know how.
Somebody has the replay device on. Please turn it off.
I don't know how. If it's me, I don't know how.
Somebody has the replay device on. Please turn it off.
I don't know how. If it's me, I don't know how.
Alice, do you have a mobile device on? You need to turn it off. Alice, do you have a mobile device on? You need to turn it off.
Okay, I did. Powered off.
Okay. Go ahead. Alice, do you have a mobile device on? You need to turn it off.
Okay, not on. Powered off.
Okay. Go ahead. Alice, do you have a mobile device on?
Still an echo. Not on. Powered off. Still an echo.
The StreamYard is using my device as a the StreamYard tab is using my device as a microphone.
Okay, Madeline, maybe if you disconnect, and Sadia, if you disconnect, and let's just leave Alice to go and then reconnect and make sure you reboot your computer.
And do we go to YouTube to follow?
No, you reconnect. We're live right now, by the way. So
Okay.
Sadia and Alice, please reconnect. Make sure you're not having another browser open. Right now, by the way. So Sadia and Alice, please reconnect. Make sure you're not having another browser open.
Okay.
Right now, by the way. So Alice, if you do the same thing, sorry to our viewers, we're going to put it on pause. Go ahead, Alice.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome. This is the first time we've had a chance to introduce to you the new programs we started this year. And actually, last November was the first one on GLAF and Great Lake Local Action Fund and the work with Ganaraska Regional Conservation Authority, and that'll be spoken to later today. And I'm speaking on the new program called Seniors Measure Up, a program we decided to design for this post or still continuing pandemic, where seniors would be invited to come out to join us outdoors and meet each other, doing something very interesting for them, we hope. So here we go. Next slide, please. This is the ad that's going out to the seniors' residences, showing seniors measuring and mulching. And that's what we're asking them to do, not dig, really. There's no shovels there. But we're asking them to come and sign up and come to their local park. There'll be some different parks, local parks involved in the June, July, September, October. And then in the winter, we'll have some webinars, and they'll help choose some of the topics that we'll have for them. So once a month, more or less, till next April. Take care. And for the next slide, please. We hope you see you there. This is how we designed it to get you out as seniors in the local parks. You could probably bring some relatives, I guess. But we really want seniors to meet seniors outdoors now that we've been locked up, more or less. I know self-imposed, but still. And have a good, safe place to be outdoors and breathe normally some fresh air. That means that we were able then to collect data and provide information and be part of the building of environmental stewardship. because grandparents and elders have quite a big influence on our community. So we need to get everybody out there working towards our mutual health and safety and a better environment. So we'll be going to 4 different parks. Our first park will be June 22nd, and it'll be in the Applewood Heights Park behind the Dixie Arena. So next slide, please. This is what we'll be doing. Mulching the newly planted trees last year when we had another grant getting those trees in the ground with a whole bunch of partners like pollinators, blooming boulevards, plants, perennials, native perennials, and People Against Litter and Community Heritage at Mississauga, writing a book up in Cooksville. And then we'll be measuring and mulching as well, reporting the measurements and getting training videos and equipment to be able to do that properly according to protocol. And we'll be identifying trees there with the expertise of Sadia Butt, our forester, and also online at Treepedia, our own line. So we'll also teach you how to do community mapping, which is kind of fun. So next slide, please. So here's where we will be on the 22nd. There's a little map there you can blow up, but basically it's the old arena in front of us and the park is behind, and there's a huge fallen willow where we'll rendezvous. And we've asked people to come properly dressed and prepared to work outside for 2 hours or so, meet at 9:30, do socializing and set up and sign in and all that, and then work for a couple hours measuring and mulching and having a good time. Next slide, please. So this you can't see very well, but it's called Mulching 101. We wrote it for students because they didn't understand the word mulch and they didn't understand how to spread it. So our big key message here is donuts around the tree and no volcanoes, because volcanoes rot the bark, and donuts with a hole in the middle around the tree allow the water to run down and into the roots. So we're hoping that people learn how to mulch properly in the proper depth up to your ankles and so on. So that's why we wrote Mulching 101, a little inside joke for those of us who remember 101 classes. Next slide, please. So for those of you who haven't had a shovel in your hands for a while, we thought we'd introduce this type of shovel with a D handle and a pointed edge, cutting edge, which is what we'll be using if we were shoveling soil. But if you change that edge to a flat edge, you would use it for shoveling mulch. So it's just a reminder, which we use with students to show them the parts of a shovel, because most of those people never had a trowel, never mind a shovel in their hands. Next slide, please. So Shoveling 101 instructs them what kinds of shovels, how to carry it, how to dig properly using your legs and right leg if you're right-handed and your back, so on, because sometimes it's clay. And then how to care for the shovel at the end of the season, washing the soil off and oiling it for the winter. Next slide, please. So when we get out there with the seniors, there's 2 simple pieces of equipment plus a recording date you'll see. So that's a caliper measuring the diameter at the root collar, and we'll teach you how to read that measurement. And then a simple tape measure going up the tree at 1.3 meters to take the diameter. Could be with a caliper if it's that tall. If it's not, and you don't use that. And then the last slide there, a last picture shows the 2 measurements across right angles against the bark to get the area of the crown, which tells us something about the height, and not the height, but the area which the crown is growing, and tells us how healthy the canopy of the tree is. So those are the 4 basic measurements. There's more to talk about when we talk about health status and carbon calculations, but the young tree measurements allow us to get those basics across, both in print and picture. Next slide, please. This is the data sheet you'll use, and we do use GPS to locate those trees, 10% of which we planted, so that we only require 10% of the 100 trees, in other words, 10 trees or so, that we will actually measure and record their measurements to tell us basically a sample of how the 100 trees we planted there in that park are doing. different species, of course, to see which species grow the best on that particular site. The trees are chosen by the city of Mississauga, and Blooming Boulevards with the city of Mississauga chose the little plant, perennials to plant. So that's the hard work of recording neatly and nice numbers, what we've got there. Next slide, please. Then that's the program called Seniors Measure Up for 1 year in Mississauga, wards 1, 3, and 7. And we'll be finished next March with the webinars and report back to our funder. Thank you very much for hearing about listening to seniors. Over to you, Madam Chair.
That's a great summary of what we're doing. And now I'd like to call on Sadia to talk about our other programs. Sadia.
Thanks, Madeline. Thanks, Alice, for presenting that program. I'm looking forward to working with you on executing it. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to present Acer's programs and partnerships to you for the 2022 year. Acer celebrates the meaningful impacts it has on environmental education and raising awareness about the importance of trees. With 35 years behind us, we're looking to top the involvement we had last year post-COVID. In 2022, we continue to strengthen our programs, and we were able to create networks for the future for collaborative funding applications. First, our Planting for Change program, established in 2007, has been going strong, and we are now at over 70 schools. In 2022, we planted at 5 schools with the support of our funder TD, and this year we were funded through 2 of their programs, the Friends of the Environment Foundation and the TD Tree Days grant. Our largest program, as far as time was concerned, was mentoring students from our Canada Summer Jobs program. We had 36 students. We also had 3 UTM students and 4 Sheridan Davis students and 1 high school volunteer. With the CSJ students, we were able to take a lot of measurements at the Davis campus, as well as the Humber Arboretum, which was our Go Global program. And we were able to finally begin collecting measurements after a long time of hiatus. And so now we're hoping to continue with measuring the remaining quadrats and have some proper data for the current decade. Acer also hosted webinars and training sessions. The Riparian Rangers webinar can be found on our website, and I would also encourage listening to it to get details on how monitoring saves time and money. We also worked with Spruce Lab to support First Nations Misewiwik and in their earth trending training. We have continued this year as well with that program, and it's always interesting to meet with students who are changing either careers from desk jobs, or even we had one person who was an actor and then wanting to work in the outdoors. And so we train them on the simple forestry skills that are needed, as well as introduce them to learning how to identify trees, which is one of the fundamentals, and then understanding the status and health. And Acer understands the need to interface current technologies. We're moving ahead with our tree tracker apps that was under the guidance of Fazal Khan from 2020. In 2021, and in 2022, they were able to finalize most of the issues that we had concerns about. And so we're hoping now in 2023 to have a final product that we can now release to the public. And so our Riparian Rangers program was also able to continue. We were funded through the Great Lakes Local Action Fund, and we partnered with Ganaraska Conservation Authority and Sustainable Coburg. We have the pleasure to work with Pam Lancaster, who represents the Conservation Authority, Jonathan Brown, and Tovin from Sustainable Coburg. Finally, we're hoping in 2023 in July to introduce a formal launch of our foster tree program. We're hoping that this campaign will help bring awareness to the public about trees on a tree-to-tree level, tree-by-tree level. It's also to help fill the gap in Ontario's tree shortage. We'd like to build a network of individuals who can start trees out small and then have them ready for programs that we do, or even to supply other organizations. We hope that this will engage and empower communities to be part of the solution to climate change issues, and also ignite interest in our Acer planting programs, and it can integrate into some of the monitoring and understanding of how trees grow and their importance. So some final stats on what we've been achieving. Every year we grow. We had 1,730 trees and shrubs planted. We also measured 1,600 trees. We had 110 hours of public events. This year we had almost 3,000 participants in all our programs. Something new that we did in 2022, which was really exciting, through the Healthy Communities Initiative grant, we worked with Blooming Boulevards, led by Jeannie McCright, and the Canada Summer students were able to plant 2,800 wildflowers in 10 parks. And we mentored a high of 44 interns, which was really interesting. And I think we learned a lot about how we're going to manage our next group. We definitely want to thank all our partners for which we wouldn't be able to do our programs. We have very good backing from the TD Friends of the Environment Foundation. We worked closely with the TRCA, the Community Foundations of Canada supplied the HCI grant. And we're working with Brampton and the Brampton Environment Alliance. And definitely City of Mississauga has partnered in all our programs, and we're hoping to continue our work with the seniors program. And then, of course, we've had some wonderful trips out to Coburg and Port Hope, and both our partners are just wonderful people to work with. Miigwech, thank you.
That's great, and that shows that we, even despite COVID setbacks, we were still able to emerge and do even more. So this is fantastic. I even got involved. I've got 3 trees in my backyard that Sadia sold me, or I just made a contribution, and I got 3 gorgeous trees, and they're thriving. So I'm very excited about that foster a tree program. So anyone can get involved. Okay, so now, do we have our presentation from our partner in Coburg? I have to check with my producer.
No.
Okay, is Jonathan available to speak to the program? Hi, Jonathan. Would you like to just give us a verbal without slides? Welcome to the meeting. The floor is yours. Would you like to speak about it? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I guess I will.
Okay, that sounds
You're
great.
going to have to look at my ugly mug. Okay.
Not at all. Not at all. You're
Thanks
very
for having
welcome.
me. Thanks for having me. Yeah,
Good.
yeah. So, Alice,
Are you good there?
okay. There's a delay. Yeah, I'm still here, but there's a delay in the audio, I think. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, let's keep going then.
Yeah.
So yeah, oh, I'm getting
Have you
that
done-
same thing Alice had.
You've got the echo?
Hang on. Delayed audio.
Mr. Producer, have you got any suggestions? Should some of us log off?
No, Jonathan, just speak. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll do my best here. So my name's Jonathan Brown. I wear several volunteer hats.
You might have another browser tab open that's watching the presentation. So if you've got Facebook or YouTube open, please close it on your browser.
Let's see.
Okay, Madeline, we just lost Jonathan. He
Okay.
probably rebooted.
Does he know to reboot? Because I think that seemed to work last time. Okay, so should we just wait for him? Does anyone have any questions they would like to put in the chat about the programs? Or the option is for us to go and hear Jonathan at the end of the AGM. So what we could do now is we could adjourn till 3 o'clock and link up on the Google Meet link at 3 o'clock for the AGM, and then we can hear Jonathan afterwards once he's rebooted. Okay, everybody, thank you very much, and we'll see you at 3. So that's in about 25 minutes. You can sign in. Thank you.
Thank you.